Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together in Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, 3 lines from the top. The Gemara continues its discussion in regards to Bein HaShmoshois Erev Shabbos, and in general what is considered to be Bein HaShmoshois. The Gemara had brought until now that the shiur, the amount of time of Bein HaShmoshos, the way we explain, Rabbi according to Rabbi Yehuda, is Shlosha Reva Meal. If a meal is 18 minutes, it means 3/4 of 18 minutes, which would be 13 and a half minutes. When is that time? That time was described as being from the time that the sun sets, and that extends until the top of the sky becomes black and darkened as the bottom of the sky, after which it becomes Tzeis HaKoichovim, nightfall. Says the Gemara to give us another indication of what's considered to be Bein HaShmoshos and what's afterwards considered to be Tzeis HaKoichovim. Rabbi Yehuda Mar Shmuel, Koichav Echad Yoim, one star is considered to be during the day. Shnayim Bein HaShmoshos, if a person sees 2 stars in the sky, then it's considered to be Bein HaShmoshos. Shloisha Laila, if he sees 3 stars, then it's considered to be Laila, night. Tanya Nami Hochi. We also have a brisa to this effect. Koichav Echad Yoim, Koichav Shnayim Bein HaShmoshois, Shloisha Laila. Says the Gemara to explain, Amar B'Yoisi, Loi Koichavim Gedolim Hanirim Bayoim. The 3 stars that we said that one has to see at night in order to be considered to be Tzeis HaKoichovim are not 3 large stars, which you can see even during the day. V'loi Koichavim Ketanim She'ein Nirin Ela Balayla, and not 3 small stars that you can only see at night. Ela Beinonim. We're talking about 3 middle-sized stars. When a person sees Shlosha Koichavim Beinonim, it's considered to be Tzeis HaKoichovim. Says the Gemara now, in regards to somebody doing a malacha during Bein HaShmoshos, let's say on Erev Shabbos, so it's really a suffix time, whether it's during the day or at night, and therefore if he does a malacha, then he's chayiv in asham talui. Such a korban is chayiv for somebody who does a malacha that is chayiv kares misafek, and therefore since it's a safek ben hashmashos, so he's chayiv the korban asham talui. But now says Rabbi Yosi bar Zvida, ha'oise malacha b'shnei ben hashmashos chayiv chatos mimonavshach. He says that a person does a malacha, the entire Bein HaShmoshos Erev Shabbos and the entire Bein HaShmoshos Motzoi Shabbos, then Mimanav Shach, either way you'll see that he is going to be chayiv, certainly, and going to be chayiv a korban chatos. Because if he does malacha, entire malacha on Erev Shabbos, assuming that the Bein HaShmoshos is, let's say, during his day, then he didn't do a malacha then. But when he did the malacha, the entire Bein HaShmoshos Motzoi Shabbos, that day is Shabbos, and therefore he's chayiv achatos. And also, conversely, if he does a malacha the entire Erev Shabbos, Bein HaShmoshos, then if that's considered to be night, then he's already chayiv chatos from that. Even though he does a malacha Motzei Shabbos during the Bein HaShmoshos, but he's already chayiv achatos. So therefore, Mimanav Shach, he's going to be chayiv when he does malacha on both Bein HaShmoshos. Says the Gemara, Amar le Rava l'shamei. Rava said to his shamish, Atun deloi kim lechu b'shiur d'Rabbanan. You who do not know the exact shiur of Bein HaShmoshos of the Rabbanan, Adashim sho aresh dikla oslo shraga. When you see the sun on the top of the dekel tree, of the palm tree, then it's certainly still day, and that's when you shall light the Ner Shel Shabbos. Ask the Gemara, B'yoim hamu'unan mai. What about if the day is cloudy and you cannot determine where the sun is? So it depends. B'masa, if he's in the city, then chazi tar negoila. Look at the rooster. If the rooster is perched on the kara, on the roof, then it's still day. It's determined that it's daytime, and you can light the Neros. B'dabra, if you're in the outside of the city, let's say by the fields, then orve, if the birds have not come onto their nests yet, then you can still assume that it's still day, it's not yet ben hashmoshois. Inami adone. Alternatively, there's adoni. Adoni is a type of grass, interesting enough, that it goes together with the sun. In other words, when the sun rises in the east, so it's completely bent over towards the east. When it's in the middle of the day, then it's completely erect. When it's the end of the day, then it's bent over to the west. So therefore, so long as it's not bent over to the west completely, so before that period of time, you can still understand that it is going to be daytime. And therefore, it will be time to light the Ner Shel Shabbat before the Ben Hashmoshos. Gemara now brings a brisa on another subject in regards to right before Shabbos, how to prepare ourselves before Shabbos. The Chacham were concerned that if we leave it to ourselves, we might get into trouble, and therefore they instituted blowing the shofar before Shabbos to then get into different modes of transition and preparing ourselves to mekabel the Shabbos. Says the Gemara with the following brisa: Ton Rabbanon sheish tekiyos toikin erev Shabbos. They will blow 6 shofar blasts on erev Shabbos. It doesn't mean just a tekiya; it means a tekiya, a trua, and a tekiya, and again a tekiya, trua, and tekiya. As follows: Rishoyna lahavti les ha'am mimalacha shebesodos. The first tekiya, the first shofar blast, was to indicate to those who are working in the fields to stop and desist from doing their work. Shniya lahavdil ir v'chanios. The second blast was to then cause those who are working in the city and in their stores to stop doing their work. Shlishis lahadlik es haner. The third blast would be to then indicate it's time to light Shabbos neros. Divrei Rabbi Nosson. This is the opinion of Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi argues on this third blast, and he says, Shlishis lachloitz tefillin. The third blast is to indicate to take off one's tefillin. They used to wear tefillin all day long, but of course Shabbos is called an ois, and Chazal say since tefillin is called an ois, then Shabbos is not a time for wearing tefillin. Whereby this shofar blast, says Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, would indicate that it's time to take off the tefillin. Whereas if it's the fourth blast, he says, which would indicate it's time to then light the neiros. Continues the brisa, v'shoyhe kedei tzlias dag koton. The one who was blowing the shofar, he would wait a period of time to roast a small fish, or kedei lahaddik pas betanor, or to stick some dough on the inside of the tanor of the oven, and it would have to be, of course, enough so that it would become crusted on its ponim, like we learn in Daf Yud Amud Beis. V'tokeo meria v'tokeo v'shoyves. Then the blower of the shofar would blow 3 more blasts, tekiya, trua, and tekiya, and then that would indicate that everybody would be kabel Shabbos then. Omer Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, manase lehem lebavloim. Rabbi Shimon goes very, very upset with the bavloim. What are we going to do with the bavloim? Shetoikin umerim v'shoivsin mitoich merim. That they blow the shofar, tekiya, and then trua, and then they makabel upon themselves Shabbos, right after the merin, after the trua. Ask the Gemara, toikin umerin havalu chamisha. If they would just do tekiya and trua, then it'll only be a total of 5. Ella shetoikin v'choizim v'toikin. Rather, they blew the tekiya twice, and then they would blow the trua, and then mekabel Shabbos. Umerim v'shoivsin mitoich merin. So why did they do that? Explains the Gemara, minhag avosehem biyadehem. They had a minhag from their fathers that this is the way to mekabel upon themselves Shabbos. Masni le Rav Yehuda Rav Yitzchok Berei. He brought the following brisa. Shniya lahadlik es haner. The second blast indicates it's time to light Nei Rosh Shabbos. Ask the Gemara, Kiman, like whom is this going like? Like none of the Tanas that we saw. Lok Rabbi Nosson, not like Rabbi Nosson who says that it's after the third blast. Lok Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and not like Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi who says it's after the fourth blast. Ella, you have to explain the brisa that it's different. It means shlishis lahadlik es haner. After the third blast, you light the ner shel Shabbos. Keman ke Rabbi Nosson, like Rabbi Nosson's opinion. Tana Rabbi Shmuel, it was taught in the Beis Medrash Rabbi Shmuel, like we saw before, just with more detail. Sheish tekiyos tokin erev Shabbos. There are 6 shofar blasts on erev Shabbos. Hitchil litkoya tekiya rishona. They began blowing the first blast, and nimnu ha'oimdim besodim mela'ador u'melachroish. Those who were in the field would desist from hoeing and plowing, u'mela'asos kol malacha shebesodos, and from doing any other malacha they would do in the fields. Ve'en ha'kroivin rashoin lihikonis, ad sheyevo rechoikim v'yikansu kulom ke'echod. Those who were closer in the fields, closer to the city, could not enter the city until even the ones who are further away would then gather together with them, and then they would enter all at once. The reason being because if they would allow the ones closer to the city to enter, those who would come maybe later, it would be suspected that they were continuing to do malacha after the shofar blast. People in the city didn't know, and therefore they realized that they're maybe at a field that's further away. So it was required that they all gather together, and only then, when they're all together, enter the city together. And still now, the stores that are in the city are open, and the window fronts were also open. They used to take off the windows, and then they would place their wares on the covering of the windows in front of their stores. So then a second shofar would be blasted. Nistalku hatrisin v'nanalu hachonios. Then those window covers would then be returned to their windows. They would put away their wares, and they would close away the stores. And still there was hot water that was placed on the stove, heating up to then be mixed with the wine for afterwards. And there were pots that were still sitting on the stove. They would blow the third blast. Silek hamesalik. They would put away the pots. The hitmin matmin. Those pots that were going to be used for food for later on the next day, they would insulate them and keep them warm. Of course, not insulate them in a way that's going to then be moisif hevel, because we said that's also to do even mi ba'od yoim, but rather insulate in a way, let's say with towels, just to keep it warm. The hidlik hamalik, and then they would light any last candles that were necessary to give them light for the evening. The shoyeh k'dei tzlias dag koton, or k'dei lahadbik pas betanor. The one who was blasting would wait a period of time to roast a small fish or to put dough into the tanur, and then v'tokeya umeria v'tokeya v'shoives, and then he would blow 3 last blasts tekiya, shoifa trua v'tekiya, and then Klal Yisrael would be kabel upon themselves Shabbos Kodesh.